cuts.
Thanks for having us in.
45, 57, so it's down.
Yeah.
This is an unplanned.
Go ahead, start.
Go ahead. Thanks for having us in. Let's, can I back up a slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, thanks for having us in today. I put up a few numbers today that you're probably wondering what they represent and how they relate back to the state of Nevada. We understand currently today, there's a big emphasis on reliability, availability. From what we understand, you're under constant pressure to roll out new applications, support new agencies. Today, as we understand your network, and it's basically tied to a lot of boxes, and it's hard to scale, hard to monitor, hard to keep everything running. We found out from Cisco that this downward pressure continues to grow every year, growing your network at a clip of about 29%. How do you make that scale effectively, and how do you make it with high availability? I know that the Charter solution that we're talking about is it's a fiber-based type of solution where basically we drop off a gig of bandwidth, and that scales very nicely. A story that I have, it's an anecdotal story. We had a client that it's just a t-shirt shop, but high availability to them means everything in terms of being able to recognize their revenue growth and be available to the public out there. And looking at this growth chart, when we put in their network, I said, I went back to them 3 months later just to see how things are going, and know that when they reach 50% capacity, they start making plans for growth. And when they get to 70% capacity, they implement that. And I went back to them and they said, we are ready to upgrade. As a matter of fact, we're very happy with Charter, because when you put in our fiber connection, we found out that we don't really call you, that you monitor that connection. You actually call us. We had a problem, and Charter called us up, and they said that we had a route that was going up and down, and they worked with us to cure that, and so we didn't even actually have to call them. But we knew that when you put in our connection that, we'd have one phone number to call, and that, you dropped off 1 gig of bandwidth that we could always upgrade when we needed to, and that it was a single network. So how this relates to the single network is that if you're looking at managing multiple connections, and let me ask you a question. When one of these connections go down, do you have to call your provider, or do they call you?
I call them.
You have to call them. And how many calls does it take to solve that problem? What we found is that it takes 8 to 20 calls to solve that problem. Whereas we're on the line testing with them, and what high availability means is that it could be a matter of life and death. It's a state situation. And what I think I'll do is I'll let Pat talk about it a little further.
Go to Alan.
I think you pretty much killed anything I had to say. So.
Okay.
Well, you have a slide on the other side.
Okay. Rehash what we just. Hello, everybody. If you notice around the room here, I put a couple of things, a couple of numbers, and go ahead and flip that back over, and a couple of letters. I think it's the next one over. And what I want you guys to do is focus on these numbers here. The first number I want you to focus off is the number 1. Does anybody know what the number 1 means as it relates to your organization? No.
No.
But what that means is it's one outage. I want you to think about this for 1 second. One outage. What does one outage do to you? Well, if you have one outage, that means up to 100 emergency responders are stranded. They're stranded. They have no way to get back to the network. And what that does to your organization is it leads to a life or death situation. Think about that for a moment.
The numbers we put across the top here represent the average cost on an annual basis of downtime at a given place. Now, we're not telling you that we're perfect, no one is. But we can tell you, and also the 86% represents the time of, in the business world, if somebody experiences you when you're in a downtime, that means they're not coming back. Now, we know in government, you're not dealing in the same exact situation that does in a business scenario. However, can you imagine what the impact of having this life or death situation we talked about earlier, being on the national news? How is that going to affect the governor's chances of re-election next year? What we can tell you, though, is some experiences we've encountered with some of our other customers. We have a customer on the Oregon coast that's in the healthcare industry, and because they had a 30 meg pipe from us, it went from the coast of Oregon to a hospital where they could then, through that pipe, using a 30 megapixel camera, take a look at a young child's arm, end up saving that girl's life. So it's that reliability in these kinds of situations and the response time that we can deliver with the one-call resolution that will go a long way to not having your state on the national news.
Thank you again for your time. Sorry, if I can. In closing, we just want to go back one page because we have a lot of pages going on here. We just want to ask your consideration in bringing you one network with 1 gig and 1 number to make this shine bright all over the state of Nevada. Thank you.